Today we're going to go over some background information about JD Salinger, who is the author of Catcher in the Rye. It's important to go over background information about authors because sometimes what happens in their lives actually goes into the text, intentionally or unintentionally. All of our experiences shape our worldview. And some people argue that this book is very similar to his actual life. So his full name is Jerome David Salinger, and he was born in New York City, January 1st, 1919. So he was born about 100 years ago. His dad was Jewish, and his mom was of Scots-Irish descent. And so they were not raised religiously because one parent was Jewish and the other was Christian. So this is already different from a lot of his peers who tended to marry into a similar socioeconomic background and or both parents practicing the same religion. He had an older sister named Doris, and as his family got richer, he moved a few times. He was an okay student, but not amazing, and you might find that to be the case with Holden, or maybe Holden is worse. We'll find out. So this also shows any aspiring authors out there that, just because you're not good at English now or good at school now doesn't mean that you can't be a successful author later on. He spent his summers at Camp Wigwam, and he was active in the theater there, but other than that, he kind of kept to himself. He flunked out of the McBurney School at the age of 13, so he was sent to Valley Forge Military Academy to whip him into shape. And so, as you read Catcher in the Rye, you might see some similarities there. He briefly attended Ursinus College, and he wrote for the newspaper there. But then his dad took him out of college to go to Vienna, Austria, to learn about the ham business. When he returned to New York City, he wrote, and then he enrolled in Whit Burnett's course at Columbia University, and Columbia still has an excellent reputation for its English department today. He was first published in Young Folks and the New Yorker in 1940. The New Yorker is still a prominent place to get published if you're a journalist with reliable information and very well-written pieces. So if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend checking it out. In 1942, he was drafted into the Army for World War II. He didn't write during that time, but he was discharged in 1946 after the war, and that's when he started writing again. He used Oriental philosophy, again, that is now considered a racist term. It should be like East Asian philosophy, and the emerging Beat Generation culture. He still lived with his parents on Park Avenue, which is a very wealthy area in New York City, but spent a lot of time in Greenwich Village, which is another famous area. If you're not familiar with those areas, I highly recommend that you Google them and just look into them because one day you may visit New York and those would be some cool spots to see. Eventually, he settled in New Hampshire in the hills. He married Claire Douglas in 1953 and had 2 kids, but he tended to live in seclusion, so people didn't really know what was going on with him, and he was kind of a hermit. He became a student of Advaita Vedanta Hinduism, so he went with a completely different religion from his parents. And as I mentioned, his work is essentially autobiographical. So that is JD Salinger in a nutshell.